Hello, welcome to my guide for P11S. In this guide, I'll be showing you strategies for resolving the fight's mechanics using the colored waymarks as your guides. Each waymark you see here is placed directly on each of the outer floor diamonds you can see around the arena floor. The solutions I will be showing you are all very fluid and intuitive. They also require the least amount of adjusting, pre-positioning, and movement possible. Let's begin. We start by setting up waymarks as shown and assigning standard clock spots, supports on cardinals with tanks north-south and healers east-west, DPS on intercardinals with melee preferring the southern clock spots for positionals. And that's all we need. For lots of mechanics, we may need to be in light parties. For now, for the first couple of introductory mechanics, we'll use color groups. The players on blue and purple waymarks will group up, while the players on the red and yellow waymarks will do the same. Down the line, we'll form dynamic light parties, but I'll tell you about that when it's relevant. Getting into the fight, it starts with a Eunomia Raid Wide, which inflicts a bleed. This is followed by Diki, a high damage 2-hit tank buster on the top 2 enemy targets. The main threat gets a light vulnerability up, while the second threat gets a dark vuln up, so make sure to tank swap. Now, the boss introduces the main attacks that will be used for the fight, all of which include the word overruling in the cast. These attacks, which have different secondary effects based on if the boss's infused element is light or dark, are the cornerstones of this fight's structure. You'll see them a lot, and in different scenarios, so let's get familiar. The first attack is called Jury Overruling. Jury is a standard Protean attack, so be in your clock spot on your color. Watch what element the boss is channeling during the cast, light or dark. If Jury is light, what follows will be Twisters and a light party stack on each healer. Use your color groups for this, taking the stack towards the middle. If Jury is dark, Donuts will drop where each player was hit. After the Proteans connect, supports go to your DPS color partners to take a 2-person stack. Next is Upheld Overruling. Upheld will tether one player, indicating that a big damage hit of some kind is coming. If Upheld is light, this is a party stack that should be taken in the center of the arena, followed by color group light parties. If Upheld is dark, it's a really big AoE tank buster with a bleed that should be brought to the middle and mitigated. The party should pair up out on their colors, then step into the following donut AoE as duos. Third up is Divisive Overruling, a sweeping cleave that is baited on the current main tank's position. If Divisive is light, there will be a second wider cleave with a color group stack. If Divisive is dark, you'll need to step into the first AoE as pairs. Styx is a multi-hit stack, straight out of the first trial of Endwalker. The first Styx will hit 5 times, with each successive Styx cast dealing an additional hit. Next is Arcane Revelation 1. During the Arcane Revelation cast, the boss will show the unsafe element, after which dark and light mirrors will spawn. Let's say the boss shows light. That means the dark mirror intercardinal will be safe. While this is happening, the boss channels the last of the overrulings, Dismissal. Dismissal Overruling is a knockback that can be immuned, with similar secondary light and dark effects to Upheld. Light means a giant point blank with light parties. Dark means a big donut with pairs. Here's how we'll solve this. To start, always pre-position on your color's cardinal. Boss casts Arcane Revelation, and we see the unsafe element, which is light here. Then nudge into the safe intercardinal, which in this example is the one with the dark mirrors. Use the lines on the floor as a visual guide, as those are the bounds in which the mirrors will fire. As you step into safety, pop anti-knockback and look at the Dismissal cast. If it was dark, you would step in as pairs, which is easy since everyone is already paired up and in position for it. If Dismissal is light, which it is here, simply merge with the pair next to you to form a dynamic light party. I've seen lots of strategies involving pre-positioning into predefined light parties, either near or far from where the mirrors spawn. You don't have to do any of that. As long as everyone starts on their color Waymark's cardinal, everything resolves nicely with very little movement. The next mechanic is called Shadowed Messengers, which has quite a few layers to it, though it's nothing we haven't seen so far. It's essentially a sequence of overruling mechanics. First is Divisive, followed by both versions of Upheld at the same time, followed by a Jury. Let's break it down. 2 clones will appear on random adjacent intercardinals, one light and one dark. Both they and the main boss will then execute Divisive Overruling. To prep for this, preposition on your color's cardinal, just like we did for Arcane Revelation. A small but important note is that the current main tank should bait the boss on the light clone intercardinal to make resolving the boss's divisive easier. Once the cast starts, we're on our color cardinal, and we dodge into the dark clone's AoE, resolving the element that the main boss just showed. If dark, in pairs, or if light, dynamic light parties on the outside. Just afterward, the Uphelds are on the way. The party moves to the center to take the stack, and the tank with the dark tether goes out, preferably due north for the sake of consistency, a step behind the A waymark for safety. It's very easy to crunch the party stack with the tank buster, so let's not risk that. The party moves out of the light point blank into the tank's donut, and finally we move to our clock spot waymarks for Jury, resolving the Jury light or dark element as needed. After Shadowed Messengers is Styx, which will hit 6 times, one more than the first time we saw it. Next is Lightstream, which places 3 light mirrors at fixed points around the arena, each of which will fire a beam that rotates in a fixed direction, clockwise or counterclockwise. 2 mirrors will rotate in the same direction, and the third will rotate opposite. There are 6 triangular-looking safe areas when this mechanic starts. With 6 total permutations, one of these areas will be the safe spot. There are a couple different ways of finding the safe spot, but I'll just share my way. Find the orb that's unique from the others, and then look at it from the center of the arena. If its arrows are red, clockwise ones, go right 2 steps of that orb. If its arrows are the blue, counterclockwise ones, go 2 steps left of it. That's my way, but I know everyone thinks and learns differently. Play around with it and see what works for you. Once we're in the safe spots, the beams will start rotating, and the boss will lock in a divisive overruling, aimed at the party's current position. There's really not a good way to true north this, so let's do boss relative. Purple and blue clock spot players go left facing the boss, and red and yellow clock spot players go right facing the boss, resolving the light or dark secondary effect as usual. Next is a Eunomia raid wide with a bleed, and then another simple upheld overruling, which we solve as usual. The midpoint of this fight challenges us with dark and light, which gives each player a dark or light debuff, along with a tether that is either short in length or long. For this solution, we do not care which tank has aggro. We don't care about facing the boss a specific direction, such as north, and we don't have any DPS adjusting to any length of tether at all. For DPS players, dark debuffs go to the dark 4 waymark, and light debuffed DPS players go to the bright 2 waymark. For supports, we want the dark debuffs to go to the 2 marker, and the light debuffs to go to the 4 waymark. And just like that, all the conditions are solved with a simple debuff check. Let's keep going. The boss casts Arcane Revelation and shows light or dark. This will spawn orbs on cardinals, 2 light and 2 dark. Each group shimmies to the closest safe orb, opposite of the element the boss just showed, and we go from there. From this point, we're going to use our color waymarks for the rest of the mechanic. After dodging to the safe orb, each of the 2 groups note the color waymarks they're currently standing on and the color immediately counterclockwise. Let's call the color you're standing on your group's main color, and the one just counterclockwise your short color. The rule from now on, until the tethers disappear, is that you will only operate on your group's colors. Once you've noted your main and short colors, we set up for Jury Proteans. Supports on cardinals, DPS on intercardinals. long tether players on the main colors. Short tether players want to be in line with the short colors, but make sure to position directly on the floor diamond that's in close, in line with your color. If jury is dark, all the long tether players pair up on your main color intercardinal, while the short tether players slide into the main color cardinal. If jury is light, there's technically uptime if you take the stack at max melee distance between your group's two colors, but I'm going to show you a safety strat. For this safety strat, if the boss shows light jury, the two long tether supports take their protean hit near the wall, planting the twister far away, allowing the group to take the light party stack directly and comfortably on the main color cardinal. It's 1 GCD of downtime for whichever tank has to step out, but it is very safe. After jury, go back to your main color cardinal and wait for the boss to start casting Divisive. Once you see the cast, everyone rotates toward their group's short color. While you start to move, note the element the boss is showing. If dark, long tethers stop on the intercardinal, while short tethers continue to the cardinal and step in after the AoE. If light, we all rotate to the short color cardinal and remain there for the light party hit. The thought process during the entirety of the dark and light mechanic is operate on your colors. No need to adjust DPS, no need to face the boss a specific way, and no need to force a north-south orientation. Keep it simple, work the colors. After all that, the tethers will disappear and we get a Styx that hits 7 times, and another Diki tank buster. Dark Current is up next. This will spawn a set of rotating AoEs with a spread damage happening halfway through. The AoEs will always spawn on opposite cardinals, and then a purple beam on the ground will indicate the direction of rotation. Pre-position east and west according to your color groups, which we based on our clock spots at the start. Next, position the group to follow the AoE's rotation, with supports following closely and DPS slightly behind. After rotating about 180 degrees, the mechanic ends. After Dark Current, we have the same 3 overrulings as we saw at the start of the fight, in the same order: Jury, Upheld, and Divisive. The boss ends the sequence with a Eunomia raid-wide, and we now have the final big test, Letter of the Law. Letter of the Law is a series of rapid-fire mechanics, all of which we've seen before, except for towers, but those aren't that bad. Let's pre-position in similar spots as we did for Dark and Light. Tanks start near 4, and the party should start at 2. The Letter of the Law cast spawns a Dark and Light clone on the outside. We do not care where they are, so don't worry about it. Arcane Revelation shows the unsafe element for both the mirrors and orbs that are about to spawn. As everything appears, the party nudges to the safe orb and also to the safe mirror intercardinal, using the lines on the ground as your guide. The tethered tank does the same on the opposite side, while the non-tethered tank joins the party. Mirrors and orbs go off, and the next thing to happen are the upheld tethers. After the mirrors fire, the tethered tank steps in just a bit past the inner ring of floor diamonds, but not all the way middle. It's really easy to crunch the party with the dark AoE, so play it safe. The party stack happens, and everybody runs out of the light AoE and into the tank's donut as towers spawn. There's a lot of visual garbage happening on your screen at this point, from AoEs to clone models. Just focus on finding the tower that has your clock spot's color in it, and go there. Speaking of color, right after you soak towers, position on your color's cardinal, as light and dark clones are about to cleave the arena with divisive attacks. Once again, we do not care where the clones are, just dodge into the dark AoE with your partner as you pop anti-knockback, as the boss will start casting dismissal overruling while you're busy with everything else. As with any overruling, note the light or dark element. If dark, step in as a pair, or if light, merge with the pair that's now next to you to form a dynamic light party. We finish with a Styx that hits 8 times. If you still have unused mitigation, now is the time. If you're low on party members, you can go for a tank limit break as a last resort as well. We see another Lightstream exactly the same as before. Solve for the safe spot, then resolve divisive overruling with your color pairs and groups. At the end of the fight, we have a final Diki tank buster, one last jury overruling, and a Eunomia raid-wide. After that, ultimate verdict will end the encounter as the enrage. I hope you found this guide helpful. Please let me know what you think of it because I would really enjoy hearing feedback on it. Until next time, good luck, believe in your teammates, and be good to each other.